Kashmir remains our top focus. The streets are deserted on the fourth day, as well as the curfew remains imposed in major parts of Kashmir, including Kulgam, Shopian, and also other parts of Srinagar, Baramulla. This as the death toll mounts. We have now 30 people who have succumbed to their injuries. 1,300 have been injured so far. The Prime Minister, who came back from his Africa tour, will be chairing a high-level meet. The NSA, Ajit Doval, has already cut short his trip from Africa to review situation. The Home Minister has cancelled his upcoming US trip as the pressure mounts on the centre to restore peace in the valley. The Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti is reaching out to the political parties as well and the opposition, asking for peace in the valley. But let's get you first the ground report. My colleague Shuja is with us at the moment. Shuja, how is the valley waking up this morning? Give us a sense of whether there is a normalcy which seems to be restoring in the valley, or are we seeing another tense day ahead?
Well, Devina, it's an uneasy calm that, seems to be prevailing on the ground here in the valley. Yesterday, witnessed another bloody day in Kashmir, with the death toll going up to 30, while as injured being, who have been rushed to hospitals, amount to 1,300 and more. For last, in fact, 4 days, ever since that encounter took place in Kokarnag, there have been, hundreds of clashes that have taken place at various places in the valley. We are seeing unprecedented, restrictions being imposed on the movement of the people, curfews being imposed at various places. Mobile internet has been completely shut down, and also there are restrictions on the mobile network in itself in certain parts of South Kashmir. So putting all of this together, one can only see that the situation is very tense. Thankfully, there hasn't been any incident since morning of protests or clashes. But one can sense that tension on the ground among people, and also the pressure mounting on the government to handle the situation, control it before it goes beyond their control. Really, the paramilitary forces, the police force that has been deployed on the ground, clearly tell the story of the pressure that the government is facing. We are seeing more and more, presence of the paramilitary on the ground. The center has rushed in more companies. One can see that they're trying to do their level best, but the situation as we speak continues to be
We
tense.
hope peace returns to the valley soon. Shuja, thanks for joining us. Let's also take our viewers through what are the areas which are sensitive at this point of time in Kashmir. We have Anantnag, Shopian, Pulwama, Kulgam, Srinagar and Budgam and Baramulla. These are the red zones right now for the security forces which have been deployed on the ground. But as Shuja said, so far we have seen 3 Pakistani intruders along the international border. Their bid to sneak into the Indian territory was foiled by the BSF. We're also getting some reactions at this moment. Take a listen. We're also taking you through the political repercussions of Kashmir unrest, and before that, it's the diplomatic ruffling of feathers between India and Pakistan, because Pakistan is back to its old tactics. They're trying to meddle into India's internal affairs once again. We have Nawaz Sharif, who in a statement yesterday said that he expresses deep concern about the killing of terrorist Burhan Wani and the civilians that have been targeted. India has given a sharp reply to Pakistan, saying that the statement shows how Pakistan uses terrorism as a state policy. Nawaz Sharif has said oppressive measures cannot deter people of Jammu and Kashmir from seeking right to self-determination. We have Kaswar, who's joining us at this point of time. Also, we have Maha in the newsroom to give us more details on the diplomatic front. But let's go across to Kaswar first. Now, Kaswar, Pakistan has got a stern reply not only from India, but from the US as well, which has made it clear that steer away from India's internal matter. Now, Nawaz Sharif is parroting the Rawalpindi, and it's clear that civilian government is now just a puppet in the hands of the Pak army, which does not want peace with India.
You've rightly mentioned that Pakistan has got a reaction from United States as well that has suggested Pakistani side to do away from the Indians' internal matters. But let me clear one thing. That is, the civilian government is not in the hands of Pakistan's army. First time. Secondly, Pakistan has taken stern reaction, stern stance since 1947 when it comes to the situation there in Kashmir, either at Pakistani side or the Indian side. So it's really important point. But what I can tell you is that the Pakistani government and the Pakistan's army is on the same page when it comes to the reaction vis-a-vis with India. So far, we have not seen any Pakistani politician or the Pakistan's establishment to give us reaction today. But it was the Prime Minister's office which issued a very stern and very strong worded statement day before yesterday condemning what's going on there in Indian controlled Kashmir. So far, we have not seen any further reaction from the Pakistani side as of now.
Okay, well, thanks, Kaswar, for joining us with that perspective. We have Maha right now. Maha, we do know the Prime Minister is chairing that important meeting anytime now with his high officials. Home Minister has cancelled his trip to the United States. You have the NSA Ajit Doval yesterday cutting short his Africa tour, and Prime Minister himself landing in the morning now trying to see how they can manage the situation internally, but more importantly, with relationship and with respect to Pakistan as well.
Both are going to be equally important, Devina, and the concern for Kashmir and the situation that is spiraling out of control at the moment is of immense importance, and we can understand the situation and the concern of the government by the fact that the Prime Minister has landed only this morning, and within hours he is holding that meeting. That's primarily because of the kind of repercussion that we've seen after the encounter of Burhan Wani. We have seen that about 30 people have died in the protests in the aftermath of that. But the human angle to the whole story is even more scary, Devina. There are at least 40 people who are in the hospital with eye injuries, and doctors say they might never be able to see properly. That's creating a sort of resentment in the valley, and it is to clamp down, or rather, assuage the concerns of the people in the valley. That is of prime concern for the government at the moment. So the security forces have been asked to go soft on the civilians. Apart from that, a befitting reply to Pakistan will also be immensely necessary at this point, since we have seen Pakistan provoking India repeatedly in the last 24 hours.
Well, Ma, just getting an update right now from our news desk that the meeting of the Prime Minister with his high-level officials has started.
Yes.
So what are we expecting from this meeting?
First of all, how to tackle the situation in the valley at this point in time, how to actually, diffuse this situation, the tension that we're seeing in the valley. Curfews already imposed in several areas. From 7, it went up to 11 police stations in Srinagar where curfew is on. We have to understand that this entire issue is very closely linked to the youth of Kashmir, and that is going to be of prime concern for just about anybody, be it the centre or the state government. The separatists were asked to appeal to people for calm, to restore normalcy in the valley. However, they rebuffed that demand made by the state government. So clearly that's going to be one aspect. The other aspect of this meeting, which you're pointing out, Devina, has started at 7 RCR, is the fact that Pakistan has made statements, especially the one coming from Nawaz Sharif, which clearly indicate that Pakistan is at the moment trying to foment trouble here in India. And there has been a strong rebuttal already from the Ministry of External Affairs, which says it only goes to show how intrinsically Pakistan is enmeshed with terrorism. However, another response perhaps from the PMO would be required because of the relationship we have seen built between Nawaz Sharif and Narendra Modi.
Well, thanks, Ma, for getting us that update, because as the meeting begins, also the focus will be on the internal security as well as the politics behind it, because already Shiv Sena has spoken out and asked the BJP to to crack down on the situation in the valley. We have Shiv Sena, which has said in its mouthpiece that it is time to consider whether making Mehbooba Mufti the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir was a mistake. Sena has also argued that while Mehbooba Mufti speaks of peace, her stand on Burhan Wani is not yet clear. And it's not only Shiv Sena but also the opposition which has taken the similar line to attack the BJP. Take a listen to some reactions coming in. We're moving on to the other big story that is coming in right now. China's claim at the South China Sea is set to come up for hearing at the Hague International Court. Now, this is an important case because look at this. This is what China claims is their territorial waters. The case at the tribunal at The Hague was brought by the Philippines, which argues Chinese activity in the region is against the international law. Remember, China claims about 90% of the South China Sea, including reefs and islands that are also there. Now, this is what Malaysia claims as their territory. Brunei has claimed this is their territory in the South China Sea. We have Jugal, who is joining us right now to give us more details on what's expected in this verdict, which will have international implications. Over to you, Jugal.
Devya, this has been a long-standing feud. China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Philippines, they all claim historical links. So as such, the issue isn't really new. What is new is the fact that Philippines has chosen to go to an international arbitration, a bench of the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague. And that's where in 2013 the Philippines had made a presentation. Vietnam had submitted its own side of the story. But China, against whom the case was, has boycotted all the proceedings. It has in fact clarified that it will not be even executing the order, even if the order is adverse or not. The Chinese side has made it very clear that it considers the entire proceedings to be, illegal. It doesn't want to get involved at all. But what is at stake is the fact that how is China going to be seen? And this has repercussions far beyond South China Sea. We are aware of the skirmishes, so to say, which have happened between the United States ships, aircraft, and the Chinese Coast Guard and the Chinese defense authorities. We are aware that Indian Navy often deploys its ships in the South China Sea for operational deployments. We had a case where an Indian Navy ship was asked to, identify itself.
Yes, Jugal. Yes, Jugal.
It's a complex issue. We'll have to see just what the International Court actually rules, and after that is when.
And an important point, absolutely, Jugal, important point that you mentioned right now is the tribunal's verdict is not binding. So we'll have to wait and watch that the verdict, when it comes, how China reacts to it. China has been known for its aggression in the South China Sea.